I'll go ahead and call the Tuesday, March 12th meeting of the Traffic Committee meeting to order at 3 p.m. We'll go ahead and start off with introductions. I'm Brian Cervantes with the Engineering Division.
Michael Ackerman, City Engineer.
Jenna Robbins, Traffic Department.
Corporal Adam Seichner, West Covina Traffic.
Officer Michael Twano, Traffic.
So we'll go into our next item, which was the Traffic Committee items taken to the previous Traffic Committee meeting. Those items were the traffic review of Durness Street between Sunset Avenue and California Avenue, traffic review of Workman Avenue alleyway near Sunset Avenue, traffic review of Double Grove Street and East Autumn Drive, and lastly, the traffic review of 843 West Blue Ash Road. Now we'll go into the third item on our agenda, which is the new Traffic Committee items. And we'll go ahead and get started with our first one, which is the traffic review of East Autumn Drive between South Azusa Avenue and Double Grove Street. So for this one, the resident requests for speed humps along the segment of East Autumn Drive between South Azusa Avenue and Double Grove Street. The resident reported that vehicles tend to speed throughout this segment and expressed concern for pedestrian and bicyclists in the area. This location was previously studied and taken to Traffic Commission in June of 2023. The previous study determined that the additional count data was needed in order to determine if recommended improvements were warranted at this location. So for the existing conditions, the posted speed limit along this segment is 25 miles per hour. It's classified by Caltrans as a local road. We did do ADT and speed surveys on February 15th, 2024. The ADT for Autumn Drive west of Almanac Drive was 612 vehicles, and the 85th percentile speed was 29 miles per hour on Autumn Drive. The street width is 30 feet with one 15-foot lane in each direction, and parking is allowed on both sides of Autumn Drive. There is red curb installed west of 421 Merced Avenue, and the overall segment length is approximately 1,670 feet. We did do a 3-year collision history and found that there was one collision along the segment, and that collision happened in 2021. As well, we did a field visit and site photos were taken on March 7th of 2024. So based on engineering judgment, the City of West Covina traffic request guidelines and guidelines found in the CAM UTCD and CVC, it was determined that this segment of Autumn Drive between Double Grove Street and South Azusa Avenue does not qualify for the installation of speed humps. It's not recommended to install speed humps along segments with a grade, and this area of Autumn Drive is along a slope. Additionally, the 85th percentile speed was not over 35 miles per hour along the segment. Therefore, it has been determined that the installation of speed humps is not recommended for this area at this time. However, this location does qualify for the following recommendations, which are to install a 25 mile per hour speed limit sign and pavement legend on Autumn Drive, approximately 150 feet south of Double Grove Street for southbound traveling vehicles, and install a 25 mile per hour pavement legend on Autumn Drive directly next to the existing 25 mile per hour speed limit sign, approximately 150 feet north of Azusa Avenue for northbound traveling vehicles.
Okay, is there any discussion on this item? So should we move this one forward for council approval? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so this one's moved forward. And go to the next one.
Okay. So our second item for today is Dennis Place and North Roberto Avenue. Resident is requesting red curb to be installed along the curve at Dennis Place and North Roberto Avenue. The resident explained that the curve along Dennis Place at North Roberto Avenue causes line of sight issues for vehicles traveling along Dennis Place and turning onto North Roberto Avenue. For the existing conditions, the road is a 25 mile per hour prima facie speed limit, and this is a local road per the Caltrans California Road Systems map. Dennis Place is 30 feet wide, and North Roberto Avenue is also 30 feet wide. Around this segment is single and multifamily residentials. There is no existing red curb, but the segment does have no parking on street sweeping day signs, as well as no parking anytime sign at the corner. As well, for this one, we did a 3-year collision history from January 2021 through December 2023, and there were no collisions reported along this segment. As well, a field visit was conducted and site photos were taken on December 27th, 2023. And during the site visit at the intersection of Dennis Place and North Roberto Avenue, it was observed that many vehicles parked along both sides of the street on Dennis Place and North Roberto Avenue in this residential area. It was observed that cars parked along the cul-de-sac on Dennis Place approaching North Roberto Avenue, and some visibility was affected by cars parking on the corner of Dennis Place at North Roberto Avenue. However, it was determined that vehicles still had enough visibility as they approached the intersection and turned the corner at North Roberto Avenue. And there we go. And so based on engineering judgment, the City of West Covina traffic request guidelines and guidelines found in the CAM UTCD and CVC, it has been determined that there is sufficient line of sight for vehicles to exit Dennis Place onto North Roberto Avenue and does not meet criteria for installation of additional red curb.
Was this one forwarded to code?
Yes.
Because I think what the resident, if I'm not mistaken, was concerned that vehicles parking along the curve return.
Correct.
So, if you look at Dennis, can you go back to that?
Yes.
Right where it says, no stopping any time sign. the
Correct.
arrows. So that was their concern. They wanted additional red curb in addition to the signs. So at this time, we felt that the sign was enough and that we forwarded it to code enforcement and they could determine if people are parking where it says no stopping anytime. Did you guys have nothing out
No,
there
I
at
don't
that,
know
at this
what
time?
it is.
Okay. So are we in agreement that the sign is sufficient and that code enforcement will take a look, and if they report back that there is additional issues, then we'll take a look at it?
Does it say end no stopping anytime, or how do they know the limits of the no stopping?
Yeah, that was, it just has the double arrow.
And is it just for the curb return? BCR to ECR?
I
or-
assume it is, because there's no other signage, and it's heavy parking.
Right.
So I don't know if red curb would solve it, because if they're all parking heavily, they're not gonna see the red curb if someone's driving by anyway. So I don't know if it's warrants just an additional sign that says from here to here, or,
Or we could always start with enforcement and
yeah, let's see what
put some
happens.
tickets out.
Okay. Let's see if they're on the curve, because normally you're not allowed to block a wheelchair ramp or
Right,
pedestrian
yeah.
walking, but this doesn't have, it's not the corner, because it's a weird cul-de-sac.
Mhm. Would you guys rather do enforcement or rather have a red curb? Or is it easier to enforce if there is a red curb to see, because the sign just has arrows both ways?
Well, it's gonna be easier to put a red curb because we don't have a lot of people to enforce with, so. But I know like code enforcement has been helping out a lot with that stuff, so. I think the red curb part comes because they're saying that, it sounds like they're saying that they don't know that they're allowed to park there or not, when if it's the whole area, I mean,
I would
there's no
think
parking
it's
at
just
all,
the
so.
curb, the curve, yeah, because we can't take all of their parking, because it's all apartments.
Right,
So-
and then.
They have assigned parking for those apartments, I think.
Well, they
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
get one spot
Yeah,
per,
and then the friend comes.
yeah,
So then you go do the red curb, and then they're mad at us because we took some parking, so.
Well, I think we just ship it to code, and if they go out here and there and they determine that it is an issue because people are parking,
Okay.
and they don't know where the no stopping anytime is, then we can bring it back and either post a sign with the arrows that says from here to here, or
Right.
do the red just in the curve.
Are all the
Makes sense.
signs at any time, or is it? or
No,
some of
it's
them are
only
Tuesdays?
the little one.
Yeah, these other ones are
Yeah.
street sweeping
Those
signs,
Those are all
right?
street sweeping.
Yeah, I mean, that can be kind of confusing.
It is.
Any
Yeah.
time, because where does that start and where does that end?
Yeah, but I guess people are parking right next to the sign too, so
at
So
least
you would
I would-
think,
I would,
yeah.
I would imagine just for like safety standpoint, it is along that curb, because when you're
Yes.
trying to come around it, you don't wanna get tagged.
Or if there are bumpers, you know, you can't
Yeah.
park flat if you're parking on the curb.
Maybe instead of, because I know painting the red curb is pretty expensive, right? What about just putting like a sign that says from like the start to end, like just putting in 2 signs rather than 1?
I mean, it's the same thing. You gotta go probably remove this one and then put a new sign and dig it up and, so install 2 signs with the arrows or red curb. So I don't, you know,
Either one of those would work.
yeah. What is it, what's easier for, maintenance and,
Right, so red curb isn't that expensive. You know, signs can be $200-300 each. It depends on
Plus a
if
pole.
kids pull them down or hit them. Right, it's a time when you have to replace them, and then you get wheel marks on the curb, so it has to be redone every 2 to 5 years.
so in this case, then maybe it would just be easier to do the red curb in the actual curve of the,
Yeah, are there driveway approaches, or were you seeing if we're eliminating a parking spot adjacent to a house, or are those
no,
apartments
they're all
in the dens?
apartments, and they, right where that little sign is, there's no, driveway. And I
Okay.
think it would only be like from here to here, you know, just this
Mhm.
curve here would be the only place we would put the red.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put it a little more south too?
I think because it's such parking, and these are all apartments, these are multifamilies. So we don't wanna eliminate too many, we would probably just, you know.
Yeah,
from
try and
here to
keep
here.
18 to 20 feet on each
Yeah.
side between driveway approaches and the red
Right,
curb.
to make sure we're still allowing parking, but keeping it safe.
I like all those options.
All right, so what we're gonna do then is we'll send our crew out to measure and see what that, I wanna say the hump of the curve is, and see how close it is to the next driveway, so that we're not eliminating a parking, but we're still maintaining the no stopping on that curb, so we can put the red,
Very good.
okay?
Jana, do you want to keep the sign with?
Yeah, I think we
Fences?
keep the sign,
Yeah,
and
'cause
then if
now
we put
the-
the red, cause it'll kind of,
It'll delineate it now.
Yeah, it'll
You'll
be
see
on
the
either
sign
side.
And the red will delineate
because
the
if
start and stop.
a van or something parks there, you're not gonna see the red, but at least you can see the sign that says, you know, you have to think about it. Reinforce with a little bit of red. Okay. All right. The next one?
Yeah. So now our third and final item for today is the traffic review of Temple Avenue and Natalie Avenue. So for this one, a resident requested for the review of existing traffic conditions and the installation of an all-way stop at the intersection of Temple Avenue and Natalie Avenue. The resident expressed concerns for vehicles speeding along this area, line of sight at the intersection, and how both concerns have caused many collisions and near collisions. The resident requested that an all-way stop sign be installed at the intersection of Temple Avenue and Natalie Avenue. For the existing conditions, we did 3-year collision history from January 2021 through December of 2023 and found that there were 2 collisions at the intersection. Along Natalie, there's a 25-mile-per-hour prima facie speed limit, and along Temple Avenue, there's also a 25-mile-per-hour prima facie speed limit. At this intersection, it's stop controlled along Temple Avenue, but not along Natalie Avenue. The stop sign is on good condition, and then both roads are classified as local roads per the Caltrans California Road Systems map. There is no marked crosswalks at this intersection. However, there is red curb along Temple Avenue between Amar Road and Natalie Avenue, and at the north side of the intersection. There are streetlights both east and west of the intersection for nighttime illumination. And there is on-street parking on both sides of the street except where red curb is painted. Temple Avenue and Natalie Avenue are both 40 feet wide with one lane in each direction. And then going on, this is our collision history we did from January 2021 through December 2023 that showed we had the 2 collisions. And as well, field visit was conducted and site photos were taken on Friday, December 29th of 2023. So traffic stop sign warrants and requirements. Traffic control devices work in concert with the basic quote-unquote rules of the road contained in traffic laws and ordinances. The California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices describes applications, warrants, and placements of stop signs. The stop sign is a regulatory device that is used when traffic is required to stop. Stop signs are used to assign the right-of-way at an intersection, and multi-way control is used where the volume of traffic on an intersecting roads is approximately equal. Stop signs are not used as speed control devices. The placement of these signs is dictated by engineering judgment and based on guidelines found in the CAM UTCD and CVC. The city's criteria for determining if two-way or all-way stop control is warranted is based on several factors as set by the CAM UTCD. These factors include minimum volumes on each of the street approaches, collision investigation, speed of traffic, number of pedestrians, and potential site obstructions. The following briefly outlines the criteria for the installation of all-way stop warrants. The placement of all-way stop control is warranted when the minimum volume thresholds are exceeded. And then the first one is a traffic control signal is justified. Second is a crash problem exists as indicated by 5 or more collisions in a 12-month period. And the third is minimum volumes are met if A, volume entering the intersection from the major approach, total of both approaches, averages 300 vehicles per hour for 8 hours of an average day, and B, the combined vehicle, pedestrian, bicycle volumes entering the intersection from the minor street approaches averages at least 200 units per hour for the same 8 hours. So based on the engineering judgment, the City of West Covina traffic request guidelines found in the CAM UTCD and CVC, it was determined that the intersection of Temple Avenue and Natalie Avenue is not recommended to become an all-way stop location at this time. A traffic problem is defined as having 5 or more collisions within an intersection location in a 12-month period. As there have only been 2 collisions in the past 3 years and the unlikeliness of minimum volumes of traffic requirements being met, the installation of an all-way stop is not advisable at this time. However, the intersection of Temple Avenue and Natalie Avenue does qualify for the following recommendations to improve the intersection's line of sight. Those recommendations are to install a 24-inch by 12-inch cross-traffic does not stop plaque under the existing stop sign on Temple Avenue at Natalie Avenue at the southeast corner of the intersection, to install red reflected tape on the existing stop sign pole on the southeast corner of the intersection, refresh the existing stop bar and stop pavement legend on Temple Avenue at the intersection with Natalie Avenue, and install approximately 20 feet of red curb on the southwest and southeast corner of the intersection of Natalie Avenue at Temple Avenue for a total of 40 feet of red curb along Natalie Avenue. This will help improve the line of sight at the intersection for vehicles approaching Natalie Avenue from Temple Avenue.
Any discussion on this one?
Is this taking away parking spots immediately in front of people's residences? The red curb?
It would probably take one space away, but it looks like there's still parking available. Can you zoom into the southwest side?
On like a street view? Or?
Yeah, let's check that one out.
Because it's always sketchy traffic.
Yeah, drive from there, yeah.
All right, oh, there's a fire hydrant there, anyway. Okay. So that would be 20 feet, there's still parking.
Shouldn't there be red in front of that fire hydrant anyway?
Well, a lot of the time, they don't put the red, it's just a,
You're just supposed to know.
should be, you should know. Yeah, you should know.
Is there a driveway approach?
Wait, where
For-
the
Oh,
for
yeah,
that
parked
gray
cars.
car.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they have like little alley.
So,
shared.
it looks like if you put 20, you're gonna have one, that truck would still be parking there. I'm not sure how much is behind that truck.
I think that's the driveway.
Yeah, that's the driveway, yeah. So you are taking away one car, but the car shouldn't be parking there because it's 15 feet
On either side
on
of a-
either side of a fire hydrant.
Interesting.
And then this other one, looks like that one car right there will be removed, but there's, there would still be
So you
a
still
couple
have 20
places
feet.
to park, yeah.
Yeah. Not alley.
So I know it says that we have, in order to put a four-way or a three-way stop, we would have to have defined as traffic problem. I actually kind of like that idea too, of putting a couple more stop signs, because we go here all the time and it's always scary turning from Temple onto Natalie, because you got cars that just drive straight through, or they're going quick, and like if they're going west on Natalie right here, turning real quick to go south on Temple. And not only that, Temple gets, that little short span of Temple
Mhm.
gets backed up during like the rush hour onto Amar, which we all know Amar is right there, and that
Yeah.
like Amar Westport and all that stuff is all right there, and that's a bad place to get stuck. So it builds up traffic and it affects all the way up onto Amar, and then even south of this on Temple. So
So nobody can get on to Natalie because of the traffic?
it builds up traffic, and then I think it, personally, based off my experiences with this area, it's kind of scary turning anyways in general, because you can't, first of all, you can't
Is it
see,
signal?
which I don't, the
Amar?
red curb might
Yes.
help a little bit, but
I get
you got
better
people
sight
that are going
distance.
quick, yeah, so. I mean, you worked that area more than I did.
I've worked that area for like 3 years straight, and yeah, that's always sketchy going on Natalie. So whichever way you're coming from, so even if you're going west and east on Natalie and you want to go south onto Temple, there are cars that stop and you just go because it's a line of sight issue, even in my opinion. But I agree. I think the red curb and making sure that one car on each side is gone might help with the line of sight issue. As for stop signs from above, I mean, yes and no.
Yeah, our issue is if we put in stop signs and they're unwarranted, they don't meet the thresholds, then people don't respect them unless, someone's there giving them tickets,
Yeah.
So, so then you have to weigh, will people actually stop at the stop sign? Or will people coming up Temple assume they're gonna stop and they don't stop, and then we have another issue? So,
What is the red curb for on the other side of the street?
I don't know, it's a long red curb.
Yeah, so if we're taking away the 2 spots for a line of sight, I don't understand why that's there at all.
Let them park there, and then
Yeah.
you could put a little more, even probably a little more red.
Yeah.
For
Well,
the line
I'm
of sight
assuming
issue.
that's there because the fire engines, they won't have hose access to that north side of the curb.
No,
because,
probably
you
for the
see how deep it
apartments on the
goes,
other side.
Through the alleys, the apartments.
Probably.
There's a bunch of
Yeah.
apartments that go there, so I'm assuming that's why that's there.
Yeah, because the fire needs 20 feet of access to
Do
put
you wanna
their
check with
hoses.
fire if that's what
Yeah,
that's
we
there
could
for?
check with fire. It may be, because that's probably how they can, like you said, they may be parking there
Yeah, it's
to
kinda
get a hold,
deep.
to access the 2 units, those 2 on the ends,
Mhm.
interior, because they're not gonna take their fire engine inside that little.
Yeah, because if they
alleyway,
go on
yeah.
Nancy, or those are way too small for the fire engines. They can fit, but it's gonna be a nightmare trying to get the rig out of there. So I'm assuming that's why on the north curb they
Yeah,
have that.
makes
So
sense.
they can run a line and do anything from north to south.
Why don't we do the red curb, see if the line of sight increases the traffic movements, if people feel safer because they can see better if cars are coming or not? And then we can always revisit it again later.
Yeah, because I know coming up on that stop sign, I have to creep. I have to
Yeah.
creep ever so slowly, and
To
it's
see.
scary on the motorcycle too.
Oh, yeah.
Because even then, like when we go for calls for service there, Carl Shepard's
They're
always
coming.
fast,
Okay.
and nobody does the 25, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's a very sketchy intersection. But yeah, I think adding the lines improves the line of sight issue, makes it easier. And your placard, that cross traffic does not stop, will
Mhm.
definitely help if it's not already there.
Mm-hmm. There's
It's
other
not.
traffic calming things we could look at, striping or just putting the pavement marking down, 25.
With the,
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, parking down there is a nightmare anyway, so one less parking, or two less parking spots, it's not gonna be that.
well, we could do the red and then reassess in order to check whether it meets warrants for always stop. We would have to do 80 Ts and speed on each direction. So I mean, we
I'm actually
can,
okay with his solution for sure.
Yeah,
was that?
The line of sight thing's probably, I think that'll help the most, honestly, but
Yeah.
it'd be cool to have something to kind of control them going west and east too.
so what is our final? We
I
want to
think
go with
it's-
the red and then
It's exactly what you
still
recommended.
reassess?
Yeah,
Or-
I would check into that north red curve though,
Yeah,
too,
check
like
with
if-
fire.
That
Okay.
way, like, we could maybe even push the line of sight red curve
Mhm.
even farther, potentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, then I guess we've covered them all, so thank you. And we will, oh, is there any in the audience that wants to make a comment? Anything? No, not today? Okay. Then I guess we'll close it. Go ahead.
We'll go ahead and adjourn today's meeting. Our next meeting will be our normally scheduled meeting in April.